Hello and welcome to Off the Beaten Tracks, but today is not about Off the Beaten Tracks. Today is about Steve Carlson and his achieving a milestone, 1,000 subscribers. I just looked, it's 1,060 subscribers, so it has not stopped. The dam has burst open and everybody is flooding into his channel, and congratulations, it's a great channel, a great place to spend the Sunday morning as you're trying to get over that hangover. He's the soothing voice that leads you into the afternoon in football. So the competition he has concerns albums. He wants 5 albums that are your go-to albums. With having a ton of records in this kind of format is you're constantly listening to new records. So you can get up on these channels and hold them up and say, gee, I like this, gee, I didn't like this. So there isn't as much time to actually do those fallback records as in the halcyon days of our youth. But I'm going to go back to the halcyon days of my youth. This is Ram, one of the very earliest albums I purchased. We used to listen to this in Miss Auker's class in grade 8 in Oshawa at Ridgeway Junior High. I love this album. It's a great album. I guess he wrote it when he was up in Scotland at his farm there. Probably this is one of his residents. And over the years, listened to it a million times. In fact, I just bought that copy because I was afraid in my other copies in stores that I had played it so much and on such shitty equipment because it goes so far back in my collection that I would need an upgrade, and I'm sure that is one. Next, I'm going to show Fludd. This is a brilliant album by a Canadian band that had a song hit off this called Cousin Mary. Which is a great song. Ed Pilling, who's the singer, one of the great voices in rock. Unfortunately, their career was cut short when his brother Brian died of leukemia after just 3 albums. But this is a great rock album. In fact, initially it was going to be called It's called On. It was going to be called Cock On. And there's a picture, which you can find, I think, on the internet, of the 5 members of the band naked outside a pub with their genitals tucked in between their legs. That was probably not a good idea for the cover or the title of the album, but it does not in any way take away from this. This is brilliant. They also played my high school. When I was but a lad and only had 4 or 5 records, I had a group of friends, Dave, and Paul, who had a ton of records. And they kind of took me into their company, and we would go on these trips down to Toronto and buy all kinds of albums. And one of the first things that I did pick up is this album, Queen 2. This is my favorite Queen album. And in fact, when my daughter was about 5, one of her favorite songs ever was March of the Black Queen, which just shows you how brilliant my daughter was, because that is a great song. And yeah, this was one of those very early albums. This is, as you can see, I picked up a copy of this to upgrade it as well. I think I have 2 back in storage, but you can't go wrong with Queen 2. Great album. When I got out of high school, one of the early albums I bought once I found employment was this album, Kinks' Sleepwalker. This is terrific. I mean, this is amazing. Life on the Road, Mr. Big, Sleepwalker, Brother, Jukebox Music. I mean, life goes on. This was in a period for the Kinks. I think very few bands, I think Aerosmith and a couple of bands have this, where you have 2 sort of golden eras. Obviously the Kinks' early era with You Got Me and all those great songs, Follower of Fashion, all those things. But this was an era where Sleepwalker was in with Soap Opera, Schoolboys in Disgrace, Low Budget, which is an unbelievably good album. Just a real resurgence in, and then they became hugely popular once they got past that golden era and started pumping out some good songs, but just not as good as this. But terrific album. Another band that Dave and Paul turned me on to was this band, the Strawbs, Ghosts. I think Steve actually showed this album on his channel. This is a brilliant album. I can't tell you how good this is. It will remind you of kind of a semi-proggy Cat Stevens because of the quality of Dave Cousins' voice. But, and I know this is controversial, but Dave Cousins is way, way more talented than Cat Stevens. A better poet, a better songwriter, and had a much longer career writing great, great songs. Ghosts, and Dave Lambert, who is the lead guitarist, wrote some terrific songs off this too. Grace Darlin is one of those songs that breaks your heart every time you hear it, and I've heard it a billion times. And these are my also-rans. This is Freedy Johnston, Rain in the City. I first got turned on to Freedy because there was a great review in the Rolling Stone of Perfect World, saying that Freedy wrote songs like nobody else, and they are right. And Perfect World is a beautiful, haunting, and chilling song. You can't tell whether it's a song of regret, but you can't tell if it's about a serial killer taunting his victim who he's murdered, or taunting a relative, a close relative of the victim, and maybe he's coming back for her. It's just a really, really creepy song. But this album is beautiful. All of Freedy's stuff has some sadness to it. He's got a kind of a sad voice, but Lonely Penny, Don't Fall in Love with a Lonely Girl, Rain in the City, On the Other Side of Love, Living Too Close to the Rio Grande. This is a beautiful album. I can't recommend it enough. Next is Jill Sobule, Pink Pearl. This was the album following Happy Town. Happy Town was a wonderful album, got great reviews, and then she put out Pink Pearl. People who know Mystery Men might know part of Rainy Day Parade from this album. If you remember where Carmine's daughter, the great bowler, the big bowler, or whatever he was, they were auditioning new superheroes, and she shows up, and they play part of Rainy Day Parade. But Mexican Wrestler, Heroes, Mary Kay, Claire, One of These Days, it's just a terrific, terrific album. And next I'm going to go with the Jayhawks, Smile, from 2000, one of the best albums of that year. Just absolutely brilliant. I'm Gonna Make You Love Me, What Led Me to This Town. There are just so many great songs on that album. Now we're on to Fischer Z, Going Deaf for a Living. This was an album that I bought back in Canada before, it's probably 40 years old maybe, this album. And I brought it to LA, and my wife fell in love with the song Room Service. It's a great song, and to me, So Long, which I think follows it, is one of those all-time classic songs. There are some great other kind of new wavy songs on that album, but it is well worth checking out. You can get it for relatively cheap, but it is brilliant, and believe me, take a look at So Long. I'll put it down below. What a terrific song. This one is John Hiatt, Slugline. I first learned of John, for those of you who remember the old Trouser Press, at one point they gave away flexi discs inside the magazine if you got a subscription. And there were 2 songs on the flexi disc. I only remember one, which was Sharon's Got a Drugstore, which was from Slugline. And eventually I bought the album, and it was between that, probably. I know a lot of people are going to say Riding with the King or maybe Bring the Family, but to me, Warming Up to the Ice Age is the other absolute go-to for me for John Hiatt. I mean, you can't, You Kiss the Girls, Slugline, Madonna Road, another one of my wife's favorite songs. No More Dancing in the Streets, you can't go wrong. Here's my last runner-up and cheater album. This is Elvis Costello, Armed Forces. In fact, I just picked up a new copy of it because somehow I think I lost it, perhaps to an old girlfriend or something. The single that came in with it, which was Live at the Hollywood High. But what a brilliant album. Accidents Will Happen, Oliver's Army, Big Boys, Party Girl, and to end with Nick Lowe's What's So Funny About Peace, Love, and Understanding. They don't come any better. I'm cheating with these albums here because any of these could be probably flipped and put into the top 5. I want to say again, I love Steve's channel. I went to a lot of trouble to go and buy some of these albums, and then to cheat magically digitally to get the rest of these up here. Congratulations again, Steve, on 1,000. What an accomplishment. And many, many more subscribers. If anybody's into vinyl and looking to see what the new thing is or the great old thing, that's the place to go, especially on Sunday morning. And best of luck, and I hope I win and trump everybody else into the dust. Thank you.